Hi, I'm Jules Fox and welcome to my studio. This is a video for those of you who have been listening to my April archives. Thank you to all of you who have commented. I've had great feedback via email, on Facebook and on SoundCloud. It's been both fun and exposing to present what are incomplete and often experimental tracks, particularly since these were recorded on by what is in today's standards pretty basic equipment. This is the 4-track recorder I actually recorded these tracks onto. Basically the majority of the tracks you've heard, all but one. I bought this for about $600 and it provided the foundation for a lot of amazing experiences. Learning how to get the absolute most out of this piece of equipment taught me a lot, gain staging and whole sorts of other good stuff, and gave me a lot of focus and also opportunity to record other people and their talents as well. So let's talk about the tracks. Why I didn't put this video up at the start? Well, I wanted to give people an opportunity to have a listen, and those who are really interested, because I don't necessarily want a lot of those tracks out there permanently. Okay, so song number 1, Together, which was around 1997. At that time I was listening to a lot of Parliament and Funkadelic albums. Free Your Mind and Your Ass Will Follow, I think Maggot Brain, One Nation Under a Groove, which is still one of my favourite albums. So the guitar and the bass and the keyboards were pretty influenced, or pretty heavily influenced by funk, those early funk albums. And also the chorus has a bit of a country vibe, which I was also experimenting with at the time, subconsciously I think actually. So songs like Scarlet's Fever had sort of Enrico Morricone sort of influences in there. Anyway, this song Together was a demo for my band at the time, and at the end it was to demonstrate just how it could evolve into a funk jam. So a couple of comments there about the end section which people enjoyed, so that's good. I particularly liked one friend's reference to swagger. So when he described the track, sometimes it takes a friend to show you what there is to like in a song. So that was Together, great track. So Beauty Calls was the second song, and I had 2 versions of this up, one from 1995 and one from 1998. It's one of the first songs I ever wrote. The track, which is quite a slow pop song, was going to have a much faster bass line, sort of funk bass line, sort of a steep contrast in tempo, something I really like, but I never got to record that part. So the 2 versions I made available, the first version had a drum machine, and the second from around 1998 had Gavin on drums. And I remember when we were approaching the recording of this, we had a PZM, 2 PZM microphones with a block of wood in between them to capture that stereo effect. So if you're good, hopefully you got a good stereo feel for that track, especially seeing it was recorded on really basic 4-track equipment. Song 3 was Riffology, and I did a video specifically for Riffology. I'll just say that the guitar, that vocal quality was intentional. I wanted the guitar to sound like it was talking, and it definitely had that Zappa influence, and that was the one track so far that was recorded digitally. Song 4 was Blue, and that was a track, the first track I wrote with Nairi Starkey. We formed a group called Anodyne, probably without really knowing the meaning, and we performed quite regularly, particularly acoustically. We were the first people to perform at Prohibition this is about 1997, which is what, 20 years ago? So I was using the 4-track, the DP4 for effects, and basically I'd bring tracks to Nairi, the music, and we'd work on stuff together. She was a great vocalist. She really gave herself to singing, and her melodies are just amazing. So the limitation was, like many artists, sometimes the artiness gets the better of us, and that happened to occur quite a few times with Anodyne. So Anodyne had its time, and our final performance was at High on Chapel in Chapel Street in Prahran back in '97. So we lasted about a year and a half, and recorded probably 7 or 8 songs, so they may come out one day. Okay, so song 5 was Temptation, and there are a couple of different tracks which make up what would be the complete song. So I put up the demo and the intro tracks, which were recorded around 2001. This was done during a period of a few months where I had a really solid electric keyboard set up. Actually the SQ1 here and a Casio CZ series synth, which I still love. I've got a couple of those. And that was used for the sort of analog effects, even though it's a digital synth. It was probably recorded around the same time as Warpath 3, which is a song that will appear on the Callidium album later this year. Okay, song 6, which is actually 2 tracks, double header for Saturday, Callidium 1 and 2, so that name has been floating around for a while. So myself, Gavin and Tommy were really tight pals, and we started jamming together in 1990 and really spent heaps of time together, probably jamming up to 20 hours a week. And they really showed me what it was like and how to create music out of nothing. So I have a huge debt of gratitude I owe to those guys. After years apart, we took some time where we spent a couple of weekends together in about 2001, and the 2 tracks that I've put up are from 3 weekends. We actually came up with 3 tracks, but I've only put 2 of them up. And the bond we had from those hundreds of hours of jamming really shined through in these tracks. Listening back to these tracks really transports me back to that time very clearly. And it's a real joy for myself to hear those. Now, I've had a couple of questions about these tracks from Daniel in Melbourne. So his questions are, were these tracks group written or more group arranged with you as the main songwriter? So, and were they intended for vocals? So, great questions. Thanks very much, Dan. Particularly as I know that you know Tommy very well. So the answers to your questions. The first track, I think I did the actual chord progression for that. I was inspired by The Cure and also the vibe of 1960s TV shows that I like a lot. The arrangement was by the 3 of us, and because of the way those guys play and the energy and the direction and the strong personalities that they can have on a piece of music, I'd say if we were to look at writing credits, we'd all have to have a stake in it. As far as track 2 goes, the second track, it was more collaborative, so I didn't bring the chord progression in, except for that rock riff, which I found very cheesy and generic, but the guys liked it. The middle section in that, which is in 7/8, was definitely a collaboration, and Tommy and Gav had the most influence on that. I was more of a student under their progressive wings. Without that, I wouldn't have been interested in this track or even presenting it out to the wider world, because that sort of wide world of sports influenced hairy guitar was so cheesy. I wouldn't have actually given it much time, unless those guys had actually liked it, and then we'd modified it into that 7/8 section, which is fantastic. That track was written and recorded in the one day, and the one before I'd worked on before, so that's basically the way that went. And yes, the tracks were definitely written with vocals in mind, and I think it's more a matter of when, not if, as to when I put those some ideas down for lyrics for those 2 tracks. So there we have it, my speedy recollection of what the April archives have been so far. Thank you for having a listen, and I can't tell you what the next couple of tracks are because it's a mystery to me. I haven't chosen them yet. Thanks for listening in. I hope you found this as entertaining as I have, and until next time, this is Jules Fox. May your music listening be joyful and immersive.